Welcome to Music Crush, a new music podcast hosted by Flute New Music Consortium. I'm Elizabeth Robinson.
And I'm Nicole Reiner.
Composer Kevin Day has quickly emerged as one of the leading young voices in the world of music composition today, whose music ranges from powerful introspection to joyous exuberance. Kevin is an internationally acclaimed composer, conductor, and pianist whose music often intersects between the worlds of jazz, minimalism, Latin music, fusion, and contemporary classical idioms. Kevin is a winner of the BMI Student Composer Award, a 3-time finalist for the ASCAP Morton Gould Young Composer Award, and was considered for the 2022 Pulitzer Prize for his Concerto for Wind Ensemble. He's currently assistant professor of composition at Wilfrid Laurier University in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, while also pursuing his DMA in composition from the University of Miami Frost School of Music. He holds an MM in composition from the University of Georgia and a BM in performance from Texas Christian University.
Kevin, welcome to Music Crush.
Hello, and thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So how's the doctorate going? What's your dissertation about, or can you tell us?
The doctorate is going great. I am at the ABD point right now, and so I'm going to begin on the dissertation, which is luckily a commission that I just announced on social media, and so I've been commissioned to write an opera, and so that opera is going to be my dissertation, pending approval and everything else goes well for all that in the next few weeks. But yeah, that is coming up. That's the biggest project that I have ever done up to this point. I just received a McDowell fellowship to work on this project, which is amazing. So I'll get to go and do that at the end of this year and have some time to really work on this and make it as good as I can, but it's a really exciting project. I can't share specifics just yet. I am waiting on one particular press release to come out from the company to tell everyone what this is before I can. But yes, I'm working on that, and I'm going to be graduating with the doctorate in May of next year from the University of Miami, and I'm excited to get to the finish line now.
Wow. Well, congratulations on all of that. And so how long have you been at Wilfrid Laurier now?
This is year 2, and this has this has happened at the same time of me doing my DMA, which is kind of a rarity. I was approached about the job around halfway through my first year at the University of Miami, and then I decided to go for it to see what happens, and I end up getting the job. So after that, it was a matter of trying to balance being a first-year professor while also being a doctoral student. And how do you do that? Because I've never heard of anyone really doing that at the same time. So year 2, I feel much more prepared. I feel like I know what's going on. I feel like really good about going into year 2. And at Laurier, I'm going to be continuing as composition professor and also as director of the jazz ensemble. So I'm going to be doing that, which is going to be fun. That is right up my wheelhouse. And so I think it's going to be a fun year.
Cool. I was going to ask, do you have, after getting through this year, do you have any advice for juggling a new academic appointment with finishing the DMA?
It's something that I'm still figuring out. I feel like I don't have it down, if I'm being honest, but I try to make sure I'm as organized as possible, and that's been very helpful. And it's been nice just to make sure I'm not taking on too much, make sure that I'm saying no to things as much as I'm saying like yes, and just making sure that I'm taking care of myself through all this. But it's a lot of organization. It's a lot of just making sure like I know exactly what I need to do when I need to do it. But it's also interesting being like going to school in the US and then going to Canada and working in Canada and seeing how those two cultures kind of tackle the same problems and how they deal with it. So it's been a very eye-opening year living in Canada and also being back and forth in the US.
Could you elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's been one of the first things I noticed really is just there are there are cultural differences that I'm picking up in Canada, and then there are things that are also kind of similar as to how we do it in the US. But I think the big thing for me has just been I've been really lucky to kind of learn from my colleagues at this school, and I'm the youngest person on the faculty, so like I'm like I'm here and I'm like listening to everyone else who's been there, much longer, and so I'm learning a lot about how Canada operates. I'm learning a lot about how they've done things and how they're trying to push towards the future, how they're trying to be progressive and pushing towards preparing musicians for the time of now. And so it's just been really wonderful to be part of those conversations and to just kind of see where this goes. So I right now, like my first year was a lot of listening, and now this second year I'm actually going to be part of these conversations and be involved with the changes. So I'm really excited for that.
Right. I think we're going to circle back to some of those ideas about how to teach for now later in this interview. So that's exciting. I don't always include guests' schools in their bios, but I really admired yours. And as you know, a state school person myself, I loved seeing just good, solid American schools in your bio. There's not a fancy, expensive conservatory in the bunch. And I say that with great affection. Has that ever felt palpable to you now that you're out in the world and composing more? Do you ever feel like that has either helped or hampered your professional development or created kind of a cultural difference with other people?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, like with all three of the schools I've went to, I've always been at a place where they're actively trying to help composers and musicians realize their potential and realize, what are their voices that are inside and how to unlock that and how to bring it to the forefront. And so, I mean, with each school, with every teacher I had, I was just very lucky to like have teachers who like that was their whole thing. They weren't trying to teach me how to write like them. They were really trying to get me to unlock, what was I interested in? What did I want to write? And that led to just once I figured out like all the possibilities of what you can do, it's just like, oh, okay. And so no, I think it's helped me quite a bit. I went to TCU and then Georgia and then Miami, and I think when I was first beginning this academic journey, I think part of me did want to be at these other places and these like higher ups and everything. But I think what really helped me was actually talking to my dad, because he was like, you're going to walk your own path, and it's not going to be like everyone else's. Everyone has their own path that they go. And so just make the most out of what that looks like for you. And so I think that advice was actually very helpful. And I just wrote wrote a lot of music and tried to collaborate as much as I could. And I love my time at all three places. I think all three had a different lesson to learn and from different teachers, and each one has its own charm. But I really enjoyed that whole experience.
Oh, that's so inspiring. Thanks, Dad. How did you first get into composing as a student?
Honestly, it was my dad too. He's the one who got me into writing music. Yeah, my dad was a hip hop producer in the late 1980s and 90s in Southern California. My mom was a gospel singer from West Virginia. And so they were the ones who got me into music, because they were always working on music at home or playing it or singing it or whatever. And so that's what got me interested. And then how I got interested in kind of writing for classical music and then later jazz and other things was through first playing in the wind band. I was a euphonium player, although I wanted to play saxophone. It had too many saxophones already auditioned, so they're like, we're going to put you on a brass instrument, and then I played, and then they put me on euphonium. I ended up loving with it all the music we were playing, and then that led me to join the orchestra on tuba. So I was able to translate my knowledge of euphonium to tuba. And then as a pianist, I picked up jazz piano when I was younger and kind of took that with me too. So when I got to TCU, I was basically doing three instruments. I was very much into performance, and I didn't know that would turn to me wanting to compose until I got into TCU and then really my passion for writing grew as time went on, and so that led to me eventually choosing to go the route of composition rather than performance. Although I do performance now, but it's really, I think I figured out very quickly composition was what I love to do, and so I wanted to see how it would be possible to kind of carry that forward.
Well, that really makes your work with Demondre Thurman I mean, it always makes sense. He's amazing, but to know
Yeah, Demondre, yes.
that's fantastic.
Yes, he is. I know this question we have on here, but yeah, he's one of my heroes. I absolutely love him, and just that concerto collaboration we did really changed our lives, and it was really cool to get to work with one of my heroes in a huge way.
FNMC has contracted you to write a flute and piano work, which is coming 2026. Feels like a long time from now, but I'm sure time
it'll be here before we know it. Yes.
Yeah, but before that, you have recently announced another consortium commission for a flute concerto with wind ensemble.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about that?
Yes, so that is going to be written, that's being commissioned by the University of Colorado Boulder for Christina Jennings, who is the professor of flute there. She's been there for quite a long time. And the wind ensemble director there is Don McKinney. And so, yeah, they've commissioned me to write a flute concerto, which is something I've always wanted to do. Like it's been on my list to write a flute concerto for quite some time, and I didn't know when it was going to come up. But this is the 9th concerto that I'll be writing. They're writing the last 8 for brass instruments and wind ensemble and an orchestra. So I'm really excited to write for a woodwind instrument. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm already working on it, and can't wait to see where that goes.
Do you think you'll be working pretty closely with Christina at any point to?
Yes, I imagine so. Yes. We'll get to work with each other hopefully sometime in the next year, because it's not this won't be premiering until 2025, so a year before the FNMC piece would be due. But yes, we will get to collaborate, which I cannot wait to do.
It might be too early for this question, especially considering that there are flute works between now and then. Do you have any ideas for the flute and piano piece FNMC commissioned?
I have ideas. Yes, I need to figure out which one I want to go. I have ideas, though. Yes.
Are you open to discussing any themes or topics, or is that not part of the Kevin Day process?
No, I'm open to it for sure. The way my brain kind of has been working recently, I think a lot about rhythm when I compose music. A lot of my music is very rhythmic and has that levels of different rhythmic intensity that I'd like to explore. And so I think with this piece so far, the idea is kind of seeing how much I can kind of push that. What can I do as far as extended techniques? What can I do to really showcase different parts of the flute as well? But as of right now, I mean, yes, I have ideas for it. I just need to choose one. I have about three that I'm trying to choose between. But yeah, I should have something very soon, and I think it's going to be, some kind of multi-movement work, and just kind of we'll see where it goes. So.
A lot of our other composers have mentioned works that they're sort of interested in listening to as they root around for inspiration. And again, it's several years out, so if you're not there yet, just shush me. Do you have any favorite flute pieces or flute pieces that you're like, oh man, I really like this thing in that one?
I I don't have any specific flute pieces, but there are pieces that involve flute that I love by some of my favorite composers. I take a lot of inspiration from Tania Leon, from Valerie Coleman, Marcos Balter, who I just adore. I love the way he writes for flute as well. So I think those are those are 3 people, one, who have mentored me in some kind of way, and 2 have been I just love what they do with the instrument. I think that will be probably where the inspiration for this piece comes from.
Have you started digging into flute extended techniques yet? I understand it's a wide field.
It's a wide field, yeah, and I need to do more. I will say that. I know I have a very limited knowledge, I think, but I'm open to learning more and to seeing kind of what has been done, what hasn't, what are some ways we can kind of go about it. But that's the wonderful part of this collaboration process, is that I get to kind of see see how it goes, and get to try new things, get to experiment, and just kind of see what is the sound I want to go for this particular piece. So I'm very open to that, and I can't wait to see where that goes.
Well, don't be shy. You've got our email. We love talking shops.
True.
I'll send some stuff your way for sure. Yes, absolutely.
You really seem like your star is on the rise, which is very exciting to see. Does it feel that way? Has it been weird for you lately?
It's been this ever, like, I feel like I've been riding the wave for a long time, and it began with the Euphonium Concerto clip that happened to go on Facebook and Instagram and all that. And that clip, I think, between those two platforms got close to 1 million views, which was just like nuts for a euphonium concerto to get that kind of attention. So, and that happened when I was 21. I'm 27 now. So it's just the last 6 years have been just, yeah, it's been a lot of changes, a lot of trying to figure out how to navigate all of this, and at the same time, maintain my personal life, maintain, my life as a teacher, as a musician. So it's been a lot of trying to balance all of that while still trying to get through the rest of my 20s. So, but it's all happened very quickly, but I'm very thankful that there's a time coming where eventually I want to take a break and take a hiatus and kind of like give myself time to process everything that's happened. But yeah, we're just riding the wave, and we're seeing where it goes.
Can we get philosophical for a moment here?
Sure.
Because
Sure
I think about, I, as a performer, am so excited by so many things that I'm seeing happening in classical music. Your music, the collaborations that you've had with performers. I mean, there's some really creative and exciting things happening in our world right now. But at the same time, all three of us also teach at the college level, as do I think many of our listeners. And in that regard, times feel kind of hard, right? I mean, there are, you keep reading these statistics about fewer kids participating in music, and college admissions are declining, and then universities are making drastic cuts, which makes it like this vicious cycle of trying to recruit music students and retain them. It feels difficult right now to find the students who want to do this and encourage them to be brave and do it and stick with it. And yet there are these exciting things happening for people who are already in the field. Would you agree? I mean, do you feel like there's a sense of paradox happening right now in this way?
Yeah, I think for sure. And I, at least with my students in Canada, what I've been trying to do is just sort of help them to realize the full potential of what's out there that you can do as a composer, as a musician. For a lot of them, they are kind of discouraged to go into music, as I was when I was younger, and all of that. But I've been trying to tell them, like, these are the things that are happening, these are the things that are out there, these are different pathways that you can choose, and to show them that, like, there are different ways that you can make a living as a musician, as a writer, as a composer. But yeah, I can understand what you mean. There's this paradox of, like, there are those who are trying to get into the field and trying to figure out what their path is, and those who are already in it who may also be like reconsidering what that looks like for them. And especially just speaking for myself, through going through the pandemic, that helped me, like, in a way, reevaluate what I was doing at the time and where I wanted to go with my life. And so, yeah, I think that's where a lot of us are at right now.
The pandemic feels like it was 20 years ago and also 2 minutes ago.
Right. Yes, I feel that.
You mentioned earlier that your school is really actively part of this conversation. How do we train music students intelligently right now, which sounds exciting. Are there any examples of things that you think are really cool happening?
Yeah, I think the big thing is just we're moving towards a direction that is actively trying to give the students tools to help them as far as, like, music business goes, and like for those who want to do music industry, there's now different outlets and courses they can take to do that. One big thing we did that was really cool was we partnered with this recording company called Metalworks in Canada, and this is a recording studio that is used by Drake, by Ed Sheeran, by like some of the biggest pop artists. And so they're opening up their facilities to Laurier students who want to come in and learn how to mix, how to master, how to, be a part of a recording session, all those kinds of things, which I think is really wonderful. So it's in that front, that's already happening now. And I think the other part of it is also like kind of expanding what's happening with classical music, with jazz, with all these different genres, and trying to find really creative ways to kind of weave these all together. And I think it's really amazing that that's happening. So yeah, I think it's about preparing the students for not just for their own creative passions, but to also realize that like there's so much out there that you can choose from, and technology is a big part of that, and the industry is a big part of that, and it's a lot more there's a lot more now than, of course, I mean, when I was in school, I didn't know half the stuff that was going on now. When I was a freshman in undergrad, I had no clue, and so I think it's great that we're kind of showing them like these are the pathways to choose from.
Shifting gears a little bit, and you've already alluded to this in some of your earlier responses, but who are some of your musical heroes?
Yes, so Damondre Thurman, who I've already shouted out a couple times, one of the best euphonium players in the world by far, and just a wonderful friend, and so I look up to him. I look up to some of my biggest influences in music have been musicians like John Coltrane, like Kamasi Washington, Jennifer Higdon, as well as I've mentioned Tanya Leon, Valerie Coleman, Marcos. And then also I'm inspired by artists like Kendrick Lamar, and I listen to a lot of his work. I listen to Tyler the Creator. I listen to Beyonce. So there's a whole bunch in my playlist that I'm just kind of circulating through between hip hop, jazz, contemporary classical music, indie music. It's all sort of there. So
I love that you have a complete food pyramid sort of different styles.
Yeah. Well, no, because I love listening to so many things, and I'm listening to music all the time, and that's really, I think, where sometimes I get my craziest ideas, because I'm always plugged in, and I try to hear like what's happening, what are people making, and to me that's always really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, we hear from a lot of musicians, and some say they don't do a lot of music listening outside of their own creative practice. Do you think the sort of variety in flavors and styles is behind your hunger, or is it just how you're wired?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah, I've always been attracted to new sounds and new music. I mean, just like hearing what people are making, and also I think it's just like, for me, that helps me to, like, in a way, not to plateau, and to like not to accept the way that I write now, but always try to figure out how can I change, how can I evolve as an artist, and that's what's been helping me a lot.
I want to sneak in a question, and it may not be fair given your relatively young age at this stage of your career, but we've been asking a lot of folks what their dream collaboration would be if they could just sort of manifest an opportunity.
Oh, wow.
Now, I'm going to rephrase it for you. When you are old and gray and retired somewhere tropical or whatever suits you, what opportunity do you hope to look back and have had, or what collaboration do you hope to have completed at that stage of your life?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I need to think about that one.
Okay. Sorry,
well, the answer is FNMC, of course. That's his dream collaboration, and it's already happened.
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
Well, it's so fascinating to me, because we've spoken to several composers and they'll say like an opera, but you've got one on the books. So where do you go? What else do you want to do? I think is at
You
the heart of
know,
what I'm asking you.
yeah, and that's a very good question. I mean, yeah, the opera thing came so unexpected, and yeah, I mean that with the concertos as well. I'm once I do the flute one, and then there's one more that we're working on the contract for. Then I actually kind of want to take a hiatus from
Okay,
concertos because I've been just doing that for a
sure.
while. But what's after that? I'm really not sure. I think my dream collaboration would be, I don't know, I want to collaborate with like with a, I don't know, with a singer or a rapper or something like that, like just something like just off the wall. But no, I would want to do something like I don't know. I would want to collaborate with that kind of artist. Like, I mean, Kendrick, Beyonce, like someone like that who like we could do something with like, with strings, with jazz instruments, with dancers. I mean, I don't know. It could be something just off the wall, but I want to do something that's kind of out the box, and I don't know what that looks like yet, but I guess we'll see where life goes. So
Okay, so Kendrick, Beyonce, if you're listening, Kevin is ready.
please. No, but I'm very excited for everything that's coming up, and just it's gonna be a year. There's lots going on, but I'm gonna get through it all. I'm gonna finish my doctorate and take a long break soon, very, very soon.
I know you're a different type of person than me because at your life stage, I would have said, I just hope to finish my doctorate. And that would have been the end of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We believe
So
in you, Kevin. We believe in you.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
But if ever you do need, I have a friend who likes to set New Year's resolutions that are very easy so that she can say she did it, So just like when she's feeling really worn out on December 30th, she'll say, my New Year's resolution is to take more naps this year, So
I can
you could
relate.
sprinkle a
I can
little bit of
relate.
that into your life too.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Well, I feel like you're kind of teasing out answers to our favorite last question to ask already. So I want to alter the question a little bit. Our favorite last question is always, give us 3 pieces of music you're listening to right now. And it could be anything. Maybe it'll be from people you've already listed here. But as you tell us some things you've been listening to, maybe thinking more specifically about how you're educating us and sharing, maybe opening our worlds a little bit with some of the things on your playlist.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, 2 of them, since I'm preparing to go back and teach, 2 of these charts are things we're playing with the jazz ensemble that I'm going to be working on. So one of those is it's a song called Kubauza, and it's an Afro-Cuban jazz chart written by Mario Bauza, and it's really fun. It's really cool. There's lots of challenging parts to this piece, but it features 2 styles. One that he calls Q-bop, which is basically sort of like samba and bebop mixed. It's this really interesting combination, and then it switches halfway through the chart to a cha-cha. And so we're in the cha-cha for a bit, and then we go back to this Q-bop thing that happens throughout the rest of the thing. So it's a really cool chart. There's lots that I have to teach in that for us to get that going. But that's one of the ones we're doing. The other one that I've been listening to a lot that we're playing is by Maria Schneider, who is someone who am continuously blown away with as well. She has a chart called Data Lords that was nominated for the Pulitzer, I think a couple years ago. But this chart is a very interesting chart that deals with AI taking over the world, basically. So it's like there's a lot of technological elements to it. There's a lot of nuances between that and the instruments, and so that's one that I want to try with this group as well. And it's a really cool piece that we're gonna do. And then the last one I've just been listening to just for fun is I've been listening to a lot of orchestra music recently. I've been listening to, I believe it was Symphony Number 3 by composer Yoshimatsu. I've been listening to that on YouTube, and I always go to Yoshimatsu's music as well for inspiration, as well as Takemitsu, and so I just happen to be listening to that as well, and it's a lovely piece that has flute solos and like really cool things in it too. So it's a mix of stuff, like it is all the time. I'm always listening to different things at once, and it's all fusing together.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited that we're starting this relationship. I'm excited to work with you in the coming years. It's been great talking to you.
And I'm excited to hear all the flute pieces.
Me too. Me too. And I can't wait to work with y'all as well. It's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I can't wait to show y'all the new piece very soon.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Music Crush. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also support the podcast, read show notes, and learn more about FNMC by visiting www.flutenewmusicconsortium.com.